Hey everybody, it's Ellen Lewis.
And Ginny Stein.
How are ya? Tonight we are going to be talking about classic knits. This is kind of in keeping with the idea that I started in the newsletter this week about keeping your knits for a long time. We put a lot of time, we put a lot of money and a lot of effort into knitting beautiful things, and we want to be able to wear them for a long time. And I don't know anybody who does that better than you, Ginny.
I brought a few relics. So.
Well, they're not relics.
But they're not relics, right?
No.
So.
And I also think, I don't know, you read the newsletter, of course. Of course you do. You read it before I send it out. Ginny's my proofreader.
Actually, when Ellen did send me the thing, my response to her was, "You're talking to me about slow fashion that will hang around for a good long time, because that's I want my money's worth and my time's worth, and I'm not usually disappointed in something that I make, and so I want to continue to wear it for many years and feel like it looks good on me and I'm comfortable in it."
Right. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I thought it was it's interesting for me about like this whole trend of quiet luxury and slow fashion and all this stuff. I mean, to me, those are kind of integrally tied, because a hand-knit sweater, if you're working with yarn store yarn, it's an investment. It's a financial investment.
It's a financial investment, and it's a time investment. And think about the time that it takes to make a sweater. I mean, how many of us actually are proactive enough to look at the spring summer magazine that comes out in April, March, maybe March, right? And say, I'm going to make that sweater. I'm going to make it right now
for this season,
because then I can wear it in April or May, right? Mostly we got to wait until the weather gets a little bit nicer, because we have a hard time thinking about making something for summer when it's 35 degrees outside. Just as, the reverse, we get into the fall fashions that are coming out, and particularly around here, it's still 85 degrees, and I am not comfortable, even though we have air conditioning, of working with a worsted weight woolen yarn in 85 degree weather, because I don't necessarily want to be inside. I'd rather be outside in that kind of weather. So,
it's not just that, but I mean, it's probably going to take you a good bit of time.
It's going to take a lot of time. So
you might not finish it in 3 months.
So you might not finish it in 3 months, which means we're talking about the following year.
Right.
At least the following year. And preferably, those of us who still have items sitting partially done.
None of us have that. Do you ever count that?
Do I ever count that as?
Do you ever count how many things you have partially done? Or is it just too flippin' frightening?
It's too flippin' frightening. And there are two that sit and stare at me on a regular basis. But I get busy with other things.
Right.
Partly because my boss asked me to make things. So.
I'm the worst. I'm the worst.
Ginny, why don't you try doing this?
Well, I wouldn't want you to get bored.
No. Oh, good.
I wouldn't want you to get bored with miles and miles of stockinette.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
She knows that I'm having a hard enough time trying to finish up this little tank top that's in seed stitch.
Seed stitch is tough.
Days of seed stitch. One row after another, again. So
I was talking to Donna, and I have her making her next level thing. She's still a freshman in Sweater University, and her next thing is going to be a little sleeveless top. And she said, "Can I please have something on the front?" She said, "I get bored doing miles of stockinette." She goes, "I need something just to make me slow down." And I thought, that's brilliant. That's exactly right. She does. She needs something to make her slow down in the middle.
Slow down in the middle, right?
So things that we're going to wear for a long time, right? We use the word classic. And to me, classic has a very specific kind of meaning, thing. It doesn't necessarily mean tailored. It means things that have a timeless kind of feel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's something that's timeless. It isn't necessarily, I'm trying to think of a good word.
Certainly not frumpy.
No, it's not
We're not
frumpy,
looking
but
for
I was
frumpy.
also thinking of, not preppy, but it's clothes that will fit in well in just about every situation.
Right.
Where when what you are wearing is going to fit into that situation, and you're going to look good. People are going to look at you and say, "I like that."
Right. Not, oh, I see you knit that in the 90s or the 80s or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Or what was she thinking?
But okay, so do you think that classic for you is different from classic for me? Like, do you think that a classic and timeless piece depends on a person's personal style?
Yes, I absolutely do believe that depends on personal style, because in order to be classic and to look good, you have to be comfortable in it. If you're not comfortable in what you're wearing, it's never going to fit you properly.
Right, you're never going to own it.
You're never going to own it. You're never going to be able to show it off properly. So,
right.
And each of us has got a personal style, and part of it is dependent on our life, where we are in life. What was my style when I was in my 20s is not too far from where it is now.
Right.
But it is different. And part of it is because you do try to kind of move a little bit into what's in the fashion trends. So, there are going to be minor changes that are going to happen, alterations that are going to happen. But for the most part, it's going to be something that you can wear and, as I said, fit into just about any stage of your life and whatever situation you're in.
Right. So, like, you're a very tailored person.
Yes.
Tend to wear things that are very tailored. And so I remember knitting that vest that I ended up giving to Barbara because it was very tailored.
Yes.
And it would have looked great on you. But and the one I gave you. This is
two
efforts at tailored. Classic things that are classic pieces that don't fit
that didn't quite fit for you.
Yeah, because they're not my personal style.
They're not your personal style.
Right.
And because it's interesting, because we're both tall,
right,
and we're both slender, right. But you definitely have a different vibe than mine. So, and it's not just an age difference; it's just. I'm not quite sure what it is.
Well, it's sort of interesting. I don't know if any of you look at that. Oh God, I can't remember the name of this guy, but he did this whole thing on like personal style, and one of the style things is dramatic.
Yes,
right?
I know who you're talking about.
Kibbe,
yeah,
right? Anybody heard of Kibbe?
And
I don't know that he's got the be all end all on that, but you're a dramatic, and we're both tall and we're both lean, but you're more angular.
Yes.
You're more angular, and I'm a little more curvy. So I tend to like things that maybe are a little more curvy. I mean, you've got a bell sleeve on, and that looks really good on you.
I have a bell sleeve on, yeah.
Do you like that?
It gets in the way.
I love a bell sleeve, right? Very, very impractical, but fabulous.
Yeah. So I mean, I was cooking, before for coming here for this tonight, and this was up here on me,
right, absolutely,
because
completely impractical.
It's in the way,
right.
So.
But I think, okay, so you hit on something about trends, and I think when we hear the word trend, we think trendy, which isn't the same thing. So trendy is something kind of like a fad. It's here today, it's gone tomorrow. It's very clear that it was a moment in time, right? Whereas trends are this sort of broader, sweeping movement. Like I think about men's clothing, okay? pretty classic suits. But there is a difference in the width of the lapel, the width of the tie, the spread of the collar. And it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen season to season, but it does happen maybe decade to decade.
Yes. I was just reading, speaking of men's things, of, that men's pants are getting bigger. They're getting wider.
Well, thank
And
heavens, because they
baggier
look
and
so
baggier.
stupid, those skinny.
Which means I think back of, that was, if you look at the old movies, for
In the 40s.
the 40s, the men's, pants
They had
were
pleated
loose.
pants.
They had pleated
Yes.
pants, and the plenty of room around the rump.
Right. And they had double-breasted
Double-breasted
jackets,
suits,
right?
Yeah.
So and the
yeah.
hat.
And the hat, yeah, you didn't go anywhere with a hat, without a hat. Of course, women didn't go a whole lot of places without hats either.
Did you wear hats? Did you ever wear hats?
Yes, I did.
Like, when did you wear hats?
Mostly it was to church.
You didn't do the whole downtown shopping hats and gloves thing. You're not old enough for that.
No, but I grew up outside of New York City, and pre-mall, we made 2 trips into the city to do clothing. Of course, I was quite young.
So you weren't, but your mother was probably wearing a hat.
My mother was wearing a hat, yeah, and gloves.
Yeah.
Yes. So, actually, I remember when Chuck and I got married, his mother was still wearing hats and gloves.
Was she a classic? Was she dowdy?
No, but she had very, very certain ideas about. She was still of the era where she told me that I should get dressed up before my husband came home. If I had been working around the house or taking care of children or something like that. But
that was a very 50s thing.
That was a very, yeah, well, I got married in the 60s. So.
Right. So you were done with that, right? You were done. My grandmother used to. Right. Oh my gosh, we're so far off topic. But I get it. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine though now? Like,
to go back,
Chuck, I just emerged from the.
Took a shower, got dressed.
Right.
Just
here's your martini.
Here's your martini. Leave it to Beaver era.
Right. Exactly.
But to go back to back to the classic fashion, as I said, it's something that you're going to be comfortable in, and it's going to work for you. And when something works for you and you're comfortable in it, people can see that.
Yes.
I'm not comfortable in certain frilly things. I just don't feel like a frilly thing works for me, and so I sort of feel stupid.
Right. Well, again,
frilly.
It's not your thing.
It's not my thing.
Right. Yeah. But beyond that, I think, as long as you're knitting something that isn't too exaggerated in any way, you know what I mean? Right. Like the whole shoulder pad thing, or, there was a time a few years ago where they tried to bring in this new like puff shoulder.
Right.
That was a very short-lived trend.
It was. Mm-hmm.
And I never was interested in knitting any of those things because they felt like I wouldn't be able to wear them for forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are just, for me, there are certain styles that I like, and we're always talking about when you looking for your personal style and you trying to pick a pattern of it's like go to your closet and see what it is you wear all the time.
Right.
And I look in my closet and I wear a lot of cardigans in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm. Right. Is that because you're cold, or is it a look you like,
or
what?
I think it's a transition from when we lived in New England, where I wasn't wearing a lot of cardigans. I was wearing bulky pullovers with turtlenecks.
I see, yeah.
And a silk T-shirt under it.
Right.
And then we moved south to Virginia, and then down here, and we don't have that kind of winter here. And so for me, a cardigan is a much better solution for the wintertime here. So I got a lot of cardigans. That's what I knit. I knit a bunch of cardigans.
And I also think if you're looking for your personal style, it's not, it is definitely what's in your closet, but I think it's also aspirational. How do you want to look?
Yeah.
Right? How do you want to look? But as far as knitting sweaters, what are some of the things that we've seen over the years that are probably, I don't know, like this whole very, very long sleeve? Is that a non-classic look? Is that an age thing? I mean, I think about my daughters who still wear their sweaters kind of longer than I would. You know, I'm not going to wear my sweater down to my fingertips.
Yeah. Again, I would liken it to this. It would get in my way.
Yeah.
I would be pushing them back
You're
up
so
again.
practical.
I'm so practical. Yeah, boring, right?
No, not boring, but you are very practical.
Yeah, I mean, my family has referred to me as practical pig for a long, long time.
That's very unkind of them.
It's true. It's true. So, okay. I think there are certain trends that come in. The off the shoulder thing.
The cold shoulder.
The cold shoulder.
Yeah, that was very that is a perfect example. You know what I mean? Where it's open here, the cold shoulder.
Yes, I mean you have a sleeve that's
right,
here
and it's open
there, but it's open there.
Right. That's something people will say, oh, you knit that in the early, right, in the teens, right?
Yeah. So that's not something that's going to stay in your closet.
And it's not to say that you can't wear those. It's just not something you want to invest a lot of time knitting.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
buy one. If you love that look,
right.
Buy one.
Buy one.
And then
it's not going to,
But don't spend your time and money knitting something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
No, if I'm going to spend my time and money on a sweater that I'm going to knit, then it's going to be a sweater that's going to be in my closet and it's going to be on my body for a long time.
Have you ever knit a sweater that you've gotten rid of, thrown away? Not because it was worn out, but because it was dated or too trendy or?
Not too trendy necessarily, but just because I think it was more the fact that my body changed and it just didn't work. Because your body does change as you add years. It's a slow process, and you just don't realize it's happening sometimes. Or there are a few things that I've made that have just been the wrong size, and so I've given them away.
Right. Yeah, definitely done that.
Yeah.
I remember one thing, not a couple, at least one thing that you made that was, I couldn't believe you made it because it was so not your style.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Yes. And I'm not sure why I made it. I don't really know why I made it. I mean, it looked cute. But that was probably 10 years ago? That white, you're talking about the white one, maybe even 15
more than 10 years ago. We had just brought in Empathy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, more than 10 years ago.
Yeah, more than 10 years ago. Again, I think maybe it was because it was a new yarn and I want to try it.
Yeah, but it was, oh my gosh, you probably can't even picture this. It's this little baby doll.
It was like a little baby doll thing.
An A-line sweater with short sleeves. And a little tie.
And I had a little tie that went around and tied in the back. And I finished it and I put it on and I thought, oh, Virginia. What were you thinking? No,
that was not you. And you gave that to me, and it really didn't even suit me either. No. I think it was very youthful.
It was very youthful. Yes, it was. And I think it went into one of the sample sales. And some young person bought it because she thought it was just really nice. And
it was. I mean, it was clearly beautifully knit. Tell me in the chat if you have knit things that you're unhappy with, or if you have thoughts about this topic. I'm always interested in, your insight and so forth about, what do you think about the idea of knitting really trendy things? I mean, certainly it's something, if I were going to knit something really trendy, I'd probably do it in a cotton yarn. It would be a small thing that wasn't going to be an expensive, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking I got the trendiest thing that I've done is when in the last few years, we were home and comfortable and stuff. And so things got bigger and looser And so I did make that one sweater, that brioche or fisherman rib sweater in the Kid Classic.
Do you
Which
consider that trendy?
I consider it, well, it's trendy for me in that it was bigger than what I would normally do. It was a bigger, looser sweater than I would normally have knit for myself.
Because you're tailored.
Because I'm tailored,
You
right?
prefer
But I thought I
tailored
would try.
things.
I would try that.
And how do you like it?
It's comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and I do wear it, and so it'll be in my closet, and I'll be wearing it for a long time.
Right.
So it's really interesting because it's not that far different from other sweaters that I've done over the past 40 years.
So how do you think, I mean, how do you knit classic things? I mean, you've been knitting 40 years. I've been knitting, what, 30 years?
I've been knitting.
You've been knitting more than 40 years.
Yeah.
I've been knitting 30 years, 35. God, I started in the 80s. So in
Mhm.
college, like 82.
Mhm.
What is that? 40 years.
It's 40 years.
I've been knitting 40 years.
You've been knitting 40 years.
That's scary.
I've been knitting 70.
Yes. Okay. So how is it that we continue to knit and we're knitting things that are classic, but how do we stop ourselves from knitting the same thing over and over? I mean, you probably don't go shopping, but if I go shopping, I end up buying the same thing all the time. And that's just really, we have to not do that. And let's see what Barbara says. Hi, everyone. Yes, let me put this up. Yes, I have knit a couple of sweaters and that I only wear digging out in the garden. The fit was just wrong. Yes, absolutely. I've caught the love of elegant knitted t-shirts from Ginny. Yes, yes. Well, I mean, that's it. I'm all about it.
That's my summer go-to.
Right.
The knitted t-shirt.
Right. I'm all about a hand knit wardrobe.
Mm-hmm. I know.
And
I
you are as well.
Yeah.
So your knitted t-shirts.
My knitted t-shirts.
Knitted
I
shells.
love the knitted t-shirt in the summer. That's it. I was looking in my closet today because of coming on and talking about this tonight, and there's a certain sameness here, but there's also a difference. And what I'm looking for, like I said to you, we were scrolling through the edition 3, right? And there was this very lovely sleeveless top, right, with cables all over it. And I said to Ellen, I could knit that. I would, that's one that I would really, be interested in knitting, even though I don't do a whole lot of sleeveless stuff right now. But I would be really, tempted to knit that because it has the interest of the cables in it. And so I think the yarn is important to me. There's some difference in the yarn. The stitch patterns are important to me. So that's the difference. It may be the same style, but it isn't going to look exactly the same because there are going to be some differences, whether it's in the neckline or whether it's in the sleeve treatment, or as I say, the stitch pattern. I said, I'm doing this one in the C stitch. The color, there are going to be some differences, but there is going to be a certain sameness about the style, the shape of what's in there.
Yes.
So because I know what works for me.
Yeah. Hang on. So Ginny is saying I should knit this cable top. Which pattern is it? Yes. Oh, I'll have to find that. Let me do that. But I do think it is tempting, and it's I'm guilty of knitting the same thing, buying the same thing, and we have to really kind of work at that, and I think that's why I continue to look at patterns. It's why Rowan continues to put out pattern collections, because there is a difference, and you want something.
There's a little bit of difference. There is a difference, and these days the construction is different. So for many people,
talk about that.
Okay. Well, because there's so much of the top-down stuff now that there wasn't top-down, other than if you were going to do a Fair Isle thing when I was
when I started
Icelandic sweaters.
Yeah, hang on.
But so top down now, or even where you're working in the round from bottom up, and then you split here and do the front and the back of the tops separately. That's also something that that was not around when I was learning how to knit. When I was learning how to knit sweaters, you knit a front, a back, and 2 sleeves. That's what you did. You knit a front, a back, and 2 sleeves.
That's what I like.
And you figured how to put them together.
I'm going to show this because this is the one you're
That's the
talking
one,
about.
yes.
And I know you don't like sleeveless, but this has got a little bit of
a little bit of it,
right.
a little bit of a thing.
And you could wear this with a little t-shirt.
Yeah,
like, isn't this a t-shirt?
This is a t-shirt. Yes.
Yeah, so you could wear that under this. Okay, Amelia, this girl's for you, babe.
Yeah.
I think she looks amazing in this. Right? I love that cable top. This is from the Edition 3 collection from Quail Studio. There's quite a few beautiful things in here. And we have a question from Nancy Horn Claire. Any suggestions for a t-shirt with a neckline that is not too wide? So yeah, actually there's a t-shirt right in here. Don't you think?
I think there is, yes.
This is a beautiful book.
Right.
Yeah. This one. This is perfect. Nancy, I'm going to share this with you. Can you see that? It's actually it's on the cover. It's the cover design. They like it so much that they put it on the cover. And I love this collection. I did a podcast on this on this collection, sort of went through every single one. And I think this is a beautiful collection. It's okay, Donna. We're happy you're here. So yeah, Amelia, you'll have to find a non-pink color. So is that cotton cashmere? This one?
Cotton.
What is that? Hannock cotton.
Hannock
oh
cotton.
My gosh, we've got like 10 dozen colors of Hannock cotton.
Lots and lots of colors of Hannock
and they'll
cotton.
go really fast because that's worsted.
Yeah.
Ooh, Rita says she just finished that t-shirt and the neck sits perfectly. Good to know. She did it in soft yak. Nice. That would be lovely. Yeah. So there you go, Nancy. You got validation from the most prolific knitter I've ever met, which is Rita. She's amazing.
Rita and Mary, they just knock stuff out.
They do. Oh my gosh. They probably don't have anything like sitting on their needles undone. Yeah. So I think too that maybe I tend toward designers that put out classic stuff. Like I love this Edition 3. I loved Kim Hargreaves.
Yes.
Did you find her stuff classic?
Yes, I have the one I did Hollis.
Yes.
Which was, and I think there was another one that was a Kim Hargreaves pattern that I did. You know me, I have a hard time remembering the names of the patterns.
It's okay, it doesn't matter.
Can go in and out. But yeah, I mean, her stuff is pretty classic.
Yeah. Do you think so? She tended to like a lot of peplums. Now, something like a peplum. All right. Do you consider that to be a trendy element?
I guess it would depend on how frilly it is, how much how much
moderately frilly.
Well,
like the one I did,
right?
The burgundy one.
The burgundy one.
No, that's a peplum for sure.
But it's not something I would wear.
No, it's not your personal style.
But I yeah.
Do you think when I wear that it looks like, oh yeah, she knit that back in the aughts?
No.
Are you lying?
No, I'm not lying. You know me. I unfortunately sometimes say too much.
Never.
At the wrong time.
Really? Has anybody ever accused you of that?
My husband. That doesn't count. No. Don't tell him that.
I'm sure he's not watching.
No, he's not.
I have never noticed you to be lacking in tact.
Okay.
I mean, I think you're straightforward, and I appreciate that. But yeah.
I try not to.
Donna likes pet. No, I know you would never hurt a soul. So, yeah, I think peplums can be timeless.
Yeah, I said, I think, on the right person, a peplum looks really nice. On the wrong person, then it looks like they're trying to do, some kind of, they've done it because they think it was trendy. I think, again, it goes back to what works for you and your aesthetic.
Yeah, and your body shape.
And your body shape.
Your body shape, your body style, your personal style, all those kinds of things. So, anyway, have we answered all your questions? Anybody have any thoughts? Anybody share anything about their? Yeah, I love peplums too, don't I? I think they're awesome. But so I think, can we agree on generally things that you're going to knit? You don't want to have them be kind of too exaggerated in any way, right? If the trend is toward a longer sleeve, make it maybe a little bit longer, but don't go the full like all the way down. If it's shoulders are a little larger, then maybe go a little larger, but not like.
Right.
I mean, I don't think anybody's ever going to argue about a classically constructed set-in sleeve cardigan or pullover. I mean, those are pretty timeless.
Those are timeless. So I will show you a timeless.
You got something to show?
Okay. If I can find the right timeless one.
I do. I have a lot of books from back in the day when I started knitting in the 80s. Is that the cat sweater? I have this book.
And when is it from?
It's the 80s.
I pulled this out because Intarsia came back.
Did it go out?
Well, it did. I mean, it disappeared for a long time. People weren't doing it. But I have the Susan Duckworth book on Intarsia.
That too. Yeah, I have that.
That was back from the 80s, right? So, I mean,
similar taste. Even though we have different styles, we had similar taste. This is so cute.
This is just basically a pullover. As I said, front, back, 2 sleeves.
Checking out your neckline here.
Checking out my neckline.
Yes,
right?
Nicely done.
Right. So
nicely done.
I mean, this was done, as I said, in the 80s.
That is cute.
So
Amelia, there you go. You got a kitty cat sweater.
Still fits me.
Now that's a testament too, don't you think?
It still fits me. Oh, but I mean, what could be more basic than this, except it has this really great cat face?
I think it's adorable. And that, like, I don't know what you were wearing when you first knit that on the bottom, right? But that is as timeless with like the skinny jeans that have just gone out,
right.
As it would be, with the front tucked into like a fuller pant.
Yeah.
Yeah, super cute. So it doesn't
anyway.
have to be boring, does it?
No, it doesn't have to be boring. As I said, this is, that's a pretty darn old sweater.
And I have that whole thing I did about that raglan style cabled sweater in that rose color that I knit, when I still lived in California, and I left there in 91. So that was the late 80s. And again, just a basic raglan style sweater with a lot of cables. I think it had a little bit of a puff kind of here at the bottom, but not so exaggerated that it was, oh yeah, that was when those big sleeves were in.
Yeah.
I can still get away with it if everything else is up to date.
Right. Right. That's what I say. So I think as long as you don't go too far into whatever the current trendy thing might be, if it's powered down a little,
right,
then it works for a good long time.
We had so much fun when Trisha Malcolm was here.
We did.
That was great with the champagne. It was so fun. We had these little hors d'oeuvres. And she talked about like the Pantone color report. And I'm sure you all know about Pantone and this whole color style thing and how that Pantone report sort of drives. It's a mutually sort of establishing kind of thing. The Pantone pulls what's on the runway and influences back and forth. And I know that colors come and go, but I believe, tell me if you disagree, that if you pick a color that is beautiful on your skin and your hair, that really flatters your complexion, that is timeless and classic for you. That color is never going to be all wrong.
Right. And even though the Pantone has specific colors for the year, you can sort of play with the brights and the lights, on either side of whatever that color is that's going to fit into your personal palette and what's going to work with you.
That's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, you might notice that thing is
black, white, and gray. Black, white, and gray. Nothing ever changes. It's good though. But again, that goes with you.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this, at your age, your hair's still black, just tiny little.
That's white.
Just a tiny little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's a great palette for you.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as, I guess the point is that things that are not too exaggerated, things that suit your personal style in a very clear way that you feel comfortable in and own the look of, and in colors that work with your skin and your hair and the way you like to look. Just knitting basics is okay.
That's it. You change them up a little. That's
right.
it.
Put the cables all over it.
Put the cables all over it. Choose a yarn that has some texture to it. That will work.
Don't go out.
Stitch patterns don't go out. No, not at all.
No, they don't go out of style.
And
it's the shape of things.
If you have a basic shape that works, then you can play with it and take a chance and swatch up something and say, "Oh, does this work for me? Does this work for the sweater? Can I do this?" I was talking about, I need something to keep me interested. I can't just do stockinette. I can't, or it's almost done. It's almost done.
It is slow going.
It is slow going seed stitch.
It's not as bad as half linen, but it's close.
But it's going to look great.
Yes, it is.
And
it's pink.
I'm going to be happy with it.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, it's pink. It's not gray.
But you'll probably wear it with gray pants.
Probably.
That's good. That's okay. That's completely fine.
Or white. But yeah, no. I think sometimes you need to be a little bit adventuresome, but as long as you're working within certain parameters, the adventuresome stuff can come with the color, with the stitch pattern, right? And maybe tweaking something about a neckline or a sleeve or something. So, and that, I think that comes as you are more confident in your ability to look at something or come in and talk to us.
Yeah, we'll help you.
Because I'm constantly playing around. I mean, all my life I've been playing around with changing patterns, changing sizing. So whether it was sewing or knitting. So
yeah, you have to.
Because you have to.
Right.
Sometimes you're just not the size that the world thinks size should be.
Nobody is.
Right.
Nobody is that.
Right.
And there's only so many necklines, right? There's a V-neck of various depths and widths. There's a scoop neck. There's a crew neck, and a turtleneck. And that's pretty much, that's all there is. Right.
And it just depends on how deep you want it to go. It's like the seed stitch sweater that I'm making, right? It has an extremely low neckline.
You could wear it backwards.
Well, they show it both frontwards and backwards. And so I'm making either two backs or two fronts, however you want to look at it, which is the part that doesn't have the extremely low neckline.
Right. Well, because that's not in your personal style. That's not in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So knitting can still be fun, and we can make a hand knit wardrobe without being boring, being true to ourselves. And when you know that you're going to have that garment for a really, really long time, and that you're going to get the pleasure of knitting that beautiful yarn for however many hours, I mean, it's like that whole, girl math or knitter's math, the per wear cost and the, per hour of knitting fun, it starts to be kind of not as expensive,
No, it's no. Yeah, because there is the process is part of the joy.
Right.
Okay, I mean, it's most of the joy. For there's that extra joy when you actually finish the thing and put it on and say, "Wow, I really like this." But the process for me, I just enjoy the sitting, even the seat stitch.
You're enjoying it.
I mean, yeah, I am enjoying it. I got, again, it was a new yarn. I wanted to try the new yarn, and I kind of thought the pattern was cute, and I could make it work for me. Right.
Right.
So.
Right. Absolutely. So, good. Good.
Yeah.
All right. So if you are thinking about, making something fabulous, we would love to help you. And I hope that you've enjoyed this. I've had fun talking with you tonight.
Thank you. I enjoy talking to you.
Yes.
We talk a lot.
We do actually.
Yeah.
But we can't ever talk before we come here because we.
No. Yeah. This. Yeah. We did not rehearse this.
Obviously.
Really? You think it was that obvious?
Yeah, probably. But I mean, again, this is this whole theme that I'm trying to kind of get around is the antidote to fast fashion. And knitting is right there because you're not going to be throwing stuff away. You're buying fewer things. If you think in terms of creating a hand knit wardrobe and not buying something, but knitting something, then you treasure it more and you're not getting the, none of us shop at Shine or wherever those places are, Forever 21. But I think generally it sort of moves to valuing what we own, having a different relationship with our own consumerism, our possessions and things. So, all right. I love making clothes because I get to choose the colors. Absolutely, Amy, 100%.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys very much for being with us. We've enjoyed it. And if you're new to this channel and you are not subscribed yet, please subscribe. I would love to have you join us every single week. We're here every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, and I do a lot of little shorts, and that's a lot of fun. So until next time I have for you a very fun interview with David McLeod from Rowan. He is amazing, and we're talking about the new yarn that Ginny's just finished, Cotton Revive. So that'll be next week, and I will see you then. Thanks so much.